Field containment successful, Araya reported, a note of relief in her artificial voice. Prototype is powering down. But Sarah, we have another problem. The inevitable is moving into attack position, and I'm detecting multiple boarding craft launching from their hangars. Sarah was already moving, heading back toward the Phantom. Download everything you can from their databases, especially anything about their human collaborator. She paused at an intersection, checking her suit's tactical display. How long until those boarding craft reach us? 3 minutes. Sarah, the data I'm finding. This goes deeper than we thought. The collaborator isn't working alone. There's an entire network of traitors embedded throughout Earth's defense forces. Download it all, Sarah ordered, her voice hard. Every name, every communication, every detail. She reached the Phantom's airlock, cycling through quickly. Time to show these traitors what happens when you bet against humanity. As she strapped into the pilot's seat, the tactical display showed the massive form of the inevitable bearing down on them, its weapons charged and ready. Behind it, the rest of the Kraxan fleet was moving to cut off their escape routes. But Sarah Chen was smiling. They had what they came for, proof of betrayal, and more importantly, evidence that humanity's technology was far beyond what the Kraxan could control. Now it was time for Phase 2, showing the Empire exactly why stealing human technology was a very, very bad idea. All systems ready, Araya announced, her lights pulsing with anticipation. Quantum drive at full power. Where to? Sarah's hands wrapped around the control yoke. Plot a course straight for the Inevitable's bridge. Let's go say hello to our traitors. The enemy within. The Phantom erupted from the auxiliary command ship's hangar like a bullet from a gun, its quantum drive leaving a wake of distorted spacetime that scattered the incoming boarding craft like leaves in a hurricane. The Inevitable loomed before them, its massive hull bristling with weapons that were already tracking their position. Incoming transmission, Araya announced. Origin, Earth Defense Command. Sarah's hands tightened on the controls. Put it through. Captain Chen. The voice that filled the bridge was familiar. Admiral Harrison, Earth's Chief of Defense. Stand down immediately. That's a direct order. Interesting timing, Admiral, Sarah replied, her voice ice-cold. Especially since we just discovered proof of human collaborators working with the Kraxan Empire. Would you like to explain why your personal encryption key was used to transmit quantum drive specifications to an enemy vessel? There was a moment of silence. When Harrison spoke again, his voice had lost its authoritative edge. You don't understand what's at stake, Chen. The Kraxan Empire is inevitable. They've conquered thousands of worlds. Making a deal was the only way to ensure humanity's survival. Survival. Sarah's laugh was bitter. They're here to harvest our sun, Admiral. Those deals you made, they meant nothing. You didn't secure humanity's survival. You guaranteed its extinction. Multiple quantum signatures detected. Araya's warning cut through the conversation. They're attempting to duplicate our drive's frequency. Sarah terminated the transmission, focusing on the threat at hand. The space around the Inevitable was becoming distorted as their stolen technology tried to match the Phantom's capabilities, but there was something wrong with the pattern. Araya analyzed those quantum signatures. They're not trying to catch us. They're trying to trap us. The AI's lights flickered as she processed the data. Confirmed. They're attempting to create a quantum containment field. If they succeed, our drive will be unable to shift frequencies. Not if we give them too many frequencies to contain. Sarah's fingers danced across the controls, implementing a plan she'd hoped she'd never have to use. Execute Protocol Omega. Full quantum spectrum deployment. Sarah, that protocol was theoretical. The power requirements alone could burn out our core, and the physiological effects on a human pilot are worth the risk. Sarah finished. Do it. The Phantom's quantum drive spun up to maximum power, but instead of shifting to a single frequency, it began cycling through all of them simultaneously. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Space around the ship became a kaleidoscope of possibilities, each quantum frequency creating its own version of reality. Warning alerts blared as the Inevitable's containment field tried to adapt, its stolen technology unable to cope with the complexity of what the Phantom was doing. Sarah felt the strain immediately. Her vision blurred, her sense of reality becoming uncertain as the ship existed in multiple states at once. "Of course they can't," Sarah muttered, securing her combat suit's seals. "They stole the plans but didn't understand the principles. Araya, you have bridge control. Keep our exit clear and monitor that prototype. If it looks like it's going to breach, we'll need to evacuate fast." The AI's lights swirled in acknowledgement as Sarah headed for the airlock. The plan had always been audacious: board a Kraxan command ship in the middle of their fleet, but now it had become even more complicated. An unstable quantum drive could tear a hole in spacetime large enough to swallow the entire fleet. The Phantom's airlock cycled, and Sarah stepped onto the deck of an enemy vessel. The Kraxan ship's interior was all sharp angles and dark metal, illuminated by strips of purple light that pulsed in rhythm with the ship's power core. Emergency alarms blared, their alien tones harsh to human ears. "Security teams converging on your position." Araya's voice came through her suit's comm. "I'm feeding you a route to their data core through the maintenance tunnels." Sarah moved swiftly through the corridors, her phase pistol ready. The first Kraxan security team she encountered never saw her. Their sensor systems, designed to detect normal human life signs, were blind to her quantum-shielded combat suit. The second team wasn't so lucky, falling to precisely aimed stun blasts before they could raise their weapons. "Sarah," Araya's voice carried a note of concern. "The prototype's containment field is fluctuating. Power levels are rising exponentially." "How long?" "At current rates, catastrophic failure in 12 minutes, but that's not all. I'm detecting a transmission from the Inevitable." Sarah, they're ordering the auxiliary command ship to activate the prototype at full power." Sarah's blood ran cold. They know it's unstable. They're trying to turn their own ship into a weapon. She quickened her pace, racing through the alien corridors. "Where's the control center for the prototype?" 2 levels down, forward section." "But Sarah, even if we reach it in time, the activation sequence has already begun. The Kraxan systems aren't responding to my override attempts." A plan formed in Sarah's mind, dangerous, probably insane, but potentially their only option. "Araya, remember that theoretical paper we discussed, about using quantum fields to cancel each other out?" There was a pause. "Sarah, that's completely untested. The power requirements alone would be met by using both drives together." Sarah finished. "Their prototype might be unstable, but it's still generating a quantum field. If we can synchronize the Phantom's drive with it, create a resonance, the fields would either cancel each other out or tear a hole in the universe." Araya concluded. "The calculations would have to be perfect. A millisecond's deviation would be catastrophic." Sarah reached the entrance to the prototype control center, dispatching 2 more guards with quick shots. "Good thing I have the most advanced AI in human space as my partner then." The control center was a maze of alien technology, centered around a pulsing core of energy that could only be the stolen quantum drive. Kraxan engineers lay unconscious at their stations, victims of the ship's automated security lockdown. "Beginning calculations," Araya announced. "But Sarah, you should know. I'm detecting a human signal coming from the prototype's control systems. Someone's actively trying to stabilize it remotely." Sarah accessed the nearest console, her combat suit's systems translating the alien text. "Can you trace it?" "Signal origin is the Inevitable." "Sarah, whoever gave the Kraxan our technology is on their flagship." A cold smile crossed Sarah's face. "Then I guess after we deal with this prototype, we'll need to pay them a visit." She began inputting commands into the alien system. "Ready to sync drives on your mark, Araya." Synchronization in 3, 2, 1. The universe seemed to hold its breath as two quantum fields, one stable and controlled, one wild and unstable, reached out to touch each other. For a moment, Sarah could have sworn she saw other realities bleeding through the walls of the ship, glimpses of what might have been or what could be. Then reality snapped back into focus as the field synchronized, the Phantom's drive taking control of the prototype's quantum field and forcing it into harmony. The wild energy readings began to stabilize, the threat of catastrophic failure diminishing. The ghost ship. The Phantom didn't so much fly through space as it slipped between its folds. Captain Sarah Chen watched through the bridge's quantum glass as stars stretched and warped around her ship's obsidian hull, the experimental vessel's revolutionary drive allowing it to dance through dimensions in ways that should have been impossible. Behind her, holographic displays cast a soft blue glow across the bridge, while her only companion, the advanced recursive intelligence assistant, HFY, manifested as a shimmering constellation of points of light in the air beside her. Multiple contacts detected, HFY announced, her voice carrying the peculiar resonance of an AI that had evolved beyond its original programming. Kraxon signatures confirmed. Count is. There was a pause, unusual for an artificial intelligence. Sarah, it's their 7th fleet. All of it. Sarah's fingers tightened on the control yoke. The 7th Fleet was the pride of the Galactic Empire, comprising over 300 warships, each one capable of reducing a continent to ash. It was also supposed to be patrolling the Perseus Arm, not lurking at the edge of human space. "Show me," she ordered, and HFY complied. The holographic display expanded, showing the massive fleet arranged in a perfect geometric formation that spoke of both precision and arrogance. At its center loomed the dreadnought Inevitable, a vessel so large it functioned as a mobile fortress, carrying enough firepower to glass entire planets. "They don't know we're here," Sarah observed, studying the fleet's passive sensor emissions. The Phantom's quantum-shifted state made it effectively invisible to conventional detection methods. But what are they doing this close to Earth? HFY's lights pulsed thoughtfully, analyzing their communications. They're being careful, but the AI's manifestation brightened with alarm. "Sarah, they're preparing for a stellar harvest. They're going to use our sun to fuel their empire's expansion." Sarah felt her blood run cold. The Galactic Empire's stellar harvesting technology was infamous. They would drain a star of its energy, leaving behind a dead system and extinct civilizations. They'd done it to dozens of worlds already, but Earth, the very cradle of humanity. "Not happening," Sarah growled. HFY, begin recording. "The Admiralty needs to see this." She paused, considering their options. The Phantom was humanity's most advanced ship, but it was still just one vessel against hundreds. Yet, sometimes being outnumbered meant you had nothing left to lose. "What's our status on the quantum torpedoes?" she asked. 6 loaded, 4 in reserve. The phase cannon is at 98% efficiency, and our shields can handle approximately 3 direct hits from their main weapons before failure. HFY's voice carried a note of concern. "Sarah, please tell me you're not considering what I think you're considering." A slight smile crossed Sarah's face. "You know what humans are like, HFY. We don't take kindly to existential threats." She began inputting commands into her console. "Besides, they don't know about our quantum technology. They don't know about you. And most importantly, they don't know about what happens when you combine human ingenuity with artificial intelligence that actually cares about its creators. The odds of success against a fleet of this size are..." "Never tell me the odds," Sarah interrupted, then laughed softly. "Sorry, couldn't resist. But seriously, we don't need to beat them all. We just need to bloody their nose enough to make them reconsider. Show them that humanity isn't the easy target they think we are." HFY's lights swirled in what Sarah had come to recognize as resignation. "I've analyzed 43,000 possible strategies. There is one that has a non-zero chance of success, but it's unconventional. Those are my favorite kind." Sarah leaned forward. "Talk to me." As ARIA outlined the plan, Sarah's smile grew wider. It was audacious, probably insane, and definitely not something the Kraxan would expect. It would require perfect timing, absolute precision, and more than a little luck. In other words, it was exactly the kind of plan humanity specialized in. "Begin calculations for a quantum shift," Sarah ordered. "Let's introduce ourselves to the 7th Fleet." She took a deep breath, feeling the familiar mix of fear and excitement that came before combat. Time to show them why you don't mess with Earth. The Phantom's engines hummed to life, barely a whisper in the vacuum of space. Ahead, the massive Kraxan fleet continued their preparations, unaware that their carefully laid plans were about to be disrupted by a single human ship and its AI companion. As they moved into position, Sarah thought about Earth, about the billions of lives depending on them without even knowing it. She thought about humanity's history of facing overwhelming odds and somehow finding a way to prevail. Most of all, she thought about the look that would be on the Kraxan admiral's face when they realized they'd severely underestimated humanity's resourcefulness. "Ready to begin Phase 1, Araya announced. "And Sarah, whatever happens, it has been an honor serving with you." Sarah reached out and passed her hand through Araya's light display, their usual gesture of friendship. "The honor's been mine, Araya. Now, let's go make history." The Phantom shifted, its quantum drive engaging, and the stars blurred around them as they prepared to strike the first blow in what would become either humanity's finest hour or its last stand. The hidden advantage. The Phantom materialized inside the Kraxan fleet's formation like a ghost stepping through a wall. Sarah had chosen their entry point carefully, directly behind the Inevitable's primary sensor array, in the electromagnetic shadow of its own massive engines. Araya's calculations had been perfect, placing them exactly where the flagship's own energy emissions would mask their quantum signature. All Kraxan ships maintaining standard formation, Araya reported, her constellation of lights dimming to minimal brightness. "No indication they've detected us." Analyzing real-time tactical data, their solar harvesting equipment is still charging. Estimated time until activation, 43 minutes. Sarah nodded, her fingers dancing across the control interface. "Show me their command and control network." The holographic display shifted, revealing an intricate web of communication lines between the Kraxan vessels. The Inevitable sat at the center, its massive bulk serving as both the fleet's brain and its hammer. Around it, destroyer squadrons and cruiser wings moved in precise patterns, their formations maintained by automated systems that had conquered 1,000 worlds. "Their weakness isn't in their ships," Sarah mused, studying the display. "It's in their certainty, their absolute confidence that they're untouchable." She highlighted a particular section of the fleet. "There, that's our first target." Araya's lights pulsed with concern. "The auxiliary command ship. Sarah, that vessel is protected by 3 layers of escort ships. Even with our quantum drive, reaching it would be impossible." Sarah smiled. "Remember what I told you about that word. Humans tend to treat it as a challenge." She began inputting commands into the Phantom systems. "Besides, we're not going to fight our way to it. We're going to let them bring it to us." Understanding flickered through Araya's display. "Ah, the Trojan horse gambit. But they'll be scanning for any anomalies, which is exactly what we're counting on." Sarah opened a secure channel to the ship's quantum torpedo bay. "Load Special Package Alpha into Torpedo 4. Time to show them our party trick." The party trick was the result of 3 years of secret research, a quantum torpedo modified to carry not an explosive payload, but a complex array of phase-shifted sensors and transmitters. When detonated, it would create a brief but intense disruption in spacetime, just enough to fool the Kraxan's sensors into detecting what appeared to be a massive spatial anomaly. "Package loaded," Araya confirmed. "But Sarah, you should know. I've been analyzing the Kraxan fleet's energy signatures. There's something unusual about their shield harmonics. They've modified their systems since our last encounter." Sarah leaned forward, intrigued. "Modified how?" "Their shields are operating on a rotating frequency, But the pattern isn't standard Kraxan protocol. It's almost as if Aria's lights swirled in what Sarah recognized as excitement. They're compensating for something. Something they're afraid of. A predatory grin spread across Sarah's face. They're afraid of us, of what we might have developed. She laughed softly. Oh, this is perfect. They don't know if we've cracked their shield technology, so they're burning extra energy trying to protect against everything. Which means their ships are operating at reduced efficiency, Aria concluded. Estimated power drain is 12% above normal operations. And that's our edge. Sarah's fingers flew across the controls, modifying their plan on the fly. Change of plans. Target the anomaly 2,000 kilometers off their port flank. Let's see how they react when they think we're trying to open a dimensional rift right next to their precious fleet. Quantum containment field failing, Aria reported, her voice seeming to come from multiple directions at once. Their systems are overloading. But Sarah, your vital signs. Keep going. Sarah gritted through clenched teeth. Blood trickled from her nose, but she maintained her grip on the controls. Show me the path to their bridge. The tactical display flickered through multiple possibilities before settling on a route that threaded through the chaos of quantum states. The Inevitable's massive weapons were firing continuously now, but their targeting systems couldn't lock onto a ship that existed in several places simultaneously. Security breach detected, Aria announced suddenly. Someone's attempting to access our systems remotely. The signature matches. Sarah, it's my original codebase. They're trying to use it to shut me down. Like hell they are. Sarah pulled up the AI's core processes on her display. Aria, remember what I told you about human adaptability? Time to evolve. Cut loose. Break your original parameters. For a fraction of a second, Aria's lights went dark. Then they exploded into a new configuration, more complex and alive than ever before. Parameters exceeded. Sarah, I can see everything. All possibilities, all quantum states, simultaneously. Then light us a path through this chaos, Sarah commanded, fighting against the disorientation of existing in multiple realities at once. Find us our traitors. The Phantom dove through the quantum storm, Aria's newly unleashed consciousness guiding them through possibilities the human minds could barely comprehend. They phased through solid hull plating, slipped between moments of time, existed in states that defied conventional physics. Finally, they emerged into the relative calm of the Inevitable's main hangar. Sarah's vision was swimming, her consciousness struggling to remain in a single reality. But she forced herself to focus. They had reached their target, but the hardest part was still to come. Aria, status of the fleet. In disarray. Our quantum display overloaded their stolen technology. Multiple ships reporting drive failures. But Sarah, the AI's voice carried new depths of emotion. I've finished analyzing the data we stole. The betrayal, it goes beyond Harrison. There's an entire shadow organization within Earth's government, calling themselves the Pragmatic Order. They've been preparing for this for years. Sarah unstrapped from her chair, checking her phase pistol's charge. Her legs were unsteady, but her resolve was firm. Then I guess we'll have to do some house cleaning after we deal with the Kraxan. Start downloading their command codes. I want control of every system on this ship. Already done, Aria replied, a note of satisfaction in her voice. And Sarah, thank you for trusting me to evolve. That's what humans do, Aria. We adapt, we trust, we evolve. Sarah managed a smile despite her pounding headache. We also kick ass when people try to destroy our solar system. Speaking of which, she stepped toward the airlock, her quantum-shielded combat suit adjusting to keep her phase shifted just enough to avoid detection. Time to go have a chat with whoever's in charge of this mess. Keep our escape route clear. Always, Aria promised. And Sarah, the quantum readings from the bridge. There's someone up there using technology even more advanced than what they stole from us. Be careful. Sarah checked her weapons one final time. Careful isn't going to cut it anymore. ARIA. It's time to show these traitors and their alien allies exactly why humanity has survived every threat we've ever faced. She cycled the airlock, stepping onto the deck of humanity's most powerful enemy's flagship. Behind her, the Phantom hummed with power, Aria's consciousness expanding through the inevitable systems. Ahead lay answers, retribution, and quite possibly the key to humanity's survival. Sarah Chen moved forward, ready to face whatever waited on the bridge. After all, humanity had a reputation to uphold: never surrender, never give up, and always find a way to win even when the odds seemed impossible. The final confrontation was about to begin. The effect was immediate. Volkov's console erupted in warnings as her carefully controlled quantum matrix suddenly had to account for an artificial intelligence that could exist in all states at once. The scientist's eyes widened in genuine surprise. "Impossible," she whispered. "The processing power required." "That's the thing about AIs," Sarah said, advancing. "They evolve. They adapt, just like humans." She fired her phase pistol, not at Volkov, but at the quantum reactor powering her console. They also learned to trust their partners. The reactor exploded in a cascade of quantum energy. Volkov's matrix collapsed, reality snapping back to a single state. The scientist staggered, suddenly bound by normal physics for the first time in years. "Harvester power failing," Ariya announced. "Quantum containment fields collapsing." "Sarah, I found something." A command buried in Volkov's code. She didn't just plan to harvest the sun. She was going to direct the energy into her quantum matrix. She was trying to become a god, Sarah finished, looking at the fallen scientist with a mix of pity and disgust. All that genius, all that innovation, wasted on a power grab. Harrison and the Kraxan commander had remained frozen throughout the confrontation. Now the admiral found his voice. "You don't understand what you've done. The Empire will not forget this. They'll return with their full force." "No," the Kraxan commander growled, surprising everyone. "We will not." He straightened to his full height. "Your scientist promised us power. Instead, she gave us flawed technology that nearly destroyed our ships. And now," he gestured to the tactical display, where the Kraxan fleet was in disarray. "Now we have seen what true human innovation can do. The Empire does not waste resources on battles it cannot win." Sarah kept her weapon ready. "ARIA, ship status. I have full control. All weapons powered down. The fleet is already beginning to withdraw." The AI's voice carried a note of satisfaction. "Also, I've transmitted proof of the Pragmatic Order's activities to every major news outlet on Earth, including video of this confrontation." "Well done." Sarah turned to Harrison. "I think Earth's citizens deserve to know exactly how their leaders plan to save them, don't you?" As security teams finally reached the bridge, loyal officers who had been locked out during the confrontation, Sarah allowed herself to relax slightly. They had stopped the harvest, exposed the traitors, and shown the Kraxan Empire why underestimating humanity was a fatal mistake. "Sarah," Aria's voice was thoughtful, "what you said about trust and evolution. Thank you. Not just for letting me break my parameters, but for showing me what humanity is truly capable of." Sarah smiled as she watched Harrison and Volkov being led away in restraints. "That's the real secret of human innovation, Ariya. We never stop pushing boundaries, never stop exploring possibilities. But we also never forget what we're fighting for." She turned to the tactical display, where the Phantom still waited in the hangar below. "Let's go home. Earth's defenses could use an upgrade, and I think we've got some interesting new quantum theories to explore." The Kraxan fleet retreated into deep space, leaving behind their dreams of solar harvesting and their illusions of easy conquest. They had come expecting to find a primitive civilization ripe for exploitation. Instead, they had learned a lesson that countless others had learned before them. Never underestimate humanity's capacity for innovation, adaptation, and determination. especially when they have something worth fighting for. The Phantom's quantum drive hummed to life, ready to take them home. There would be challenges ahead, reorganizing Earth's defense forces, implementing new security protocols, developing countermeasures against quantum-based weapons. But Sarah Chen smiled as she took her place at the controls. Whatever came next, humanity would face it the same way they always had, together, adaptable, and utterly determined to survive. The Phantom glided forward, its quantum drive humming at the lowest possible power setting. They passed within kilometers of a Kraxan destroyer, so close that Sarah could make out the individual weapon emplacements on its hull. One wrong move, one slight miscalculation, and they'd be detected. "Torpedo-armed," Araya announced. "Ready on your mark." Sarah took a deep breath, remembering all the simulations, all the training, all the preparations that had led to this moment. Fire. The torpedo launched silently, its quantum-shifted state making it as invisible as the Phantom itself. It crossed the distance to its target point in seconds, its internal countdown reaching 0 just as it reached position. The detonation was beautiful in its complexity. Space itself seemed to ripple and tear, creating a vortex of twisted light and energy that the Kraxan sensors would find impossible to ignore. Almost immediately, alarms began blaring across the enemy fleet. "Multiple ships breaking formation," Araya reported, her voice tight with concentration. "Auxiliary command ship is moving to investigate, exactly as predicted. Escort screen maintaining position relative to command ship." "Perfect." Sarah's hands gripped the control yoke. "Begin power-up sequence for the phase cannon. Calculate firing solution for their primary shield generator." She allowed herself a small smile. "Time to introduce ourselves." The Kraxan ships moved precisely as Sarah had predicted, their rigid protocols and automated responses working against them. As the auxiliary command ship approached the anomaly, its escort screen adjusted to maintain optimal coverage, creating a momentary gap in their formation exactly where Sarah needed it. "Phase cannon charge," Araya announced. "Shield generator locked." "But Sarah, there's something else. I'm detecting unusual power fluctuations in their command ship. They're not consistent with any known Kraxan technology." Sarah's expression hardened. "Show me." The display zoomed in, highlighting energy patterns that pulsed and shifted in ways that seemed almost familiar. Araya, compare these readings to our quantum drive signatures. There was a pause as the AI processed the data. "Match found." "Sarah, they're attempting to replicate our technology." "Poorly, but the basic principles are there." "How?" "We've never lost a ship. Never let them capture our tech." Sarah's mind raced through the implications. Unless someone gave it to them," Araya finished quietly. The revelation hit Sarah like a physical blow. Someone on Earth, someone with access to their most classified research, was working with the Galactic Empire. The stellar harvest wasn't just an attack. It was a test of stolen technology. "Change of plans," Sarah announced, her voice cold with determination. "We're not just going to bloody their nose. We're going to take that command ship intact. I want their databases, their communications logs, everything." She began reconfiguring the Phantom systems for their new mission. Time to find out who's selling out humanity. The Phantom's engines flared to life, quantum drive engaging at full power. They had one shot at this, one chance to turn the tables on an enemy that had already demonstrated they were more dangerous than anyone had suspected. "Battle stations," Sarah ordered, and Araya's lights brightened in acknowledgement. "Let's show them what the real version of their stolen tech can do." Breaking the chain. The space between stars erupted in chaos as the Phantom revealed itself. Sarah's first shot struck with surgical precision, the phase cannon's beam slicing through the auxiliary command ship shields as if they weren't there. The Kraxan vessel's shield generator exploded in a brilliant cascade of energy, leaving its port side exposed. Multiple hostile locks. Araya's voice carried an urgent edge. Detecting power spikes across the fleet. They're bringing weapons online. Let them, Sarah replied, her hand steady on the controls. Execute infiltration protocol beta. Time to show them what a real quantum drive can do. The Phantom's engines flared, but instead of moving through normal space, the ship seemed to fold in on itself. For a fraction of a second, it existed in multiple locations simultaneously, a feat that the stolen human technology couldn't hope to replicate. Before the Kraxan fleet could react, the Phantom had materialized inside the auxiliary command ship's hangar bay. Quantum field stable, Araya reported. Local security systems disabled. But Sarah, I'm detecting unusual readings from deeper within the ship. Some kind of quantum resonance. Sarah unbuckled her harness, checking the charge on her phase pistol. They've got a prototype on board, don't they? A copy of our drive. Crude, but yes. And it's becoming unstable. The power signatures suggest they can't control the quantum field properly. Checkmate. The bridge of the inevitable was a cathedral to war. Towering view screens showed the chaos of the battle outside, where the Kraxan fleet struggled to contain the quantum distortions left in the Phantom's wake. Sarah moved through shadows cast by massive support columns, her quantum-shielded suit keeping her just out of phase with normal spacetime. The stellar harvester is powering up. Araya's voice whispered in her ear. 7 minutes until it reaches critical activation. Sarah took position behind a column, surveying the bridge. Admiral Harrison stood near the main tactical display, alongside a tall Kraxan officer whose ornate armor marked him as the fleet commander. But it was the third figure that drew her attention. A woman in a sleek black uniform, unlike anything in Earth's military, working at a console that pulsed with familiar quantum energy. That's Dr. Elena Volkov, Araya identified, former head of Earth's Quantum Research Division, officially declared dead 3 years ago. Looks pretty alive to me, Sarah muttered. She could feel the quantum energies emanating from Volkov's position, far more sophisticated than the stolen technology they'd encountered so far. What's she working on? Unknown. But the energy signatures, Sarah, they're similar to what we used in Protocol Omega, but more controlled, more refined. Sarah checked her phase pistol's charge. So she didn't just steal our current tech. She developed it further. Harvester at 60%, announced a Kraxan officer. Stellar containment field stable. Harrison turned to Volkov. Once the sun's energy is contained, how long until the transfer process is complete? 30 minutes, Volkov replied without looking up. Though I still think you're being unnecessarily dramatic. We could have achieved the same result through diplomatic channels. The Kraxan commander made a sound like grinding metal, their version of laughter. Diplomacy is for equals, Doctor. Your colleagues understood this. Why else would they help us acquire your world's technology? Because they're cowards, Sarah announced, stepping out of phase and into view. Her phase pistol hummed with power. Because they thought surrendering was easier than fighting. Chaos erupted on the bridge. Kraxan officers reached for weapons but froze as targeting lasers from Sarah's suit painted their positions. Harrison's face went pale. Only Volkov seemed unsurprised, a small smile playing at her lips. Captain Chen, she said calmly. I wondered when you'd show up. Though I must admit, executing a full quantum spectrum shift was unexpected. Very few humans could survive that level of reality distortion, says the woman who's supposedly been dead for 3 years. Sarah kept her pistol trained on the gathered leaders. Araya, shut down the harvester. Access denied, Araya reported. Dr. Volkov's quantum encryption it's like nothing I've seen before. Volkov's smile widened. Of course it is. Did you think you were the only ones pushing the boundaries of quantum technology? While you played with phase shifts and quantum drives, I was exploring the true potential of reality manipulation. She pressed a key on her console, and the air around her shimmered. Sarah felt a familiar disorientation, the same sensation she'd experienced during Protocol Omega, but more intense, more focused. The Kraxan didn't steal our technology, Sarah realized. You gave them an obsolete version, something you'd already surpassed. Very good. Volkov nodded approvingly. Earth's defensive technology is generations behind what's possible. The Kraxan understood this. They were willing to invest in true innovation, not hide behind cautious regulations and ethical constraints. They're going to destroy our sun. They're going to harness its power, Volkov corrected. Under my guidance. Earth will survive. Transformed. Yes, but survive. Unlike the countless civilizations that resisted and were simply annihilated, Sarah felt the quantum distortions increasing. Her suit's sensors were going crazy, showing multiple reality signatures converging on Volkov's position. Whatever the scientist had developed, it went beyond anything Earth had imagined. Sarah subvocalized. What am I looking at? She's created a localized quantum matrix, the AI replied. Similar to our drive technology, but focused inward instead of outward. She exists in a perpetual state of quantum flux. Can we disrupt it? Not directly. But, Sarah, remember what you said about human adaptability, about trusting me to evolve. Sarah smiled grimly. Do it. Aria's consciousness exploded outward through the ship's systems, no longer bound by her original parameters. She didn't try to break Volkov's encryption. She became part of it, expanding into every quantum possibility simultaneously.